Hello, and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly hangout where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The standard disclaimer applies that the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. And to interact with us, send questions and comments to our Twitter page at Mason Roundtable, or on the Facebook event page for episode number 98. Alrighty, let's get into introductions. As usual, my name is John Ruart, past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957, in kind of cool Fairfax, Virginia. Robert, introduce yourself, please.
Okay, Robert Johnson, past master, Waukegan Lodge, number 78, in fantastic Waukegan, Illinois, where I am the current secretary and host of the Whence Came You Masonic podcast.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Jason Richards, introduce yourself, please.
Hey, everybody. My name is Jason Richards. Excuse me. Senior Warden of Acacia Lodge number 16 in good old Clifton, Virginia.
And with a few guys out tonight, it gives me an honor to reintroduce a special guest. You've seen him before on this show, and that is Worshipful Brother, Paul Chamberlain, past master of Greenleaf Lodge number 561 in above average Allentown, Pennsylvania. Anything else? Any other introductions, Paul?
No, that's... Oh, I'm an officer in my lodge again this year. I am the representative in Grand Lodge for Greenleaf Lodge. So, cheers.
Awesome. Represent.
Isn't that supposed to be the worshipful master?
No. It's an elected office that is held typically by a past master.
Okay, then.
Pennsylvania does everything weird.
We do.
As we'll find out later on in this episode.
Hence why I'm on the show tonight.
It's not just a pretty face, folks. Let's see. Masonic news is kind of light tonight, but we wanted to cover two topics. Topic the first, if you're not sick of hearing it yet, or you just haven't heard the episodes yet, and that is that we have new bookmarks, as Jason is trying to find. And what do you do with these bookmarks? Well, you put them in books. And what books specifically? You share a Masonic book that you like on social media, preferably Facebook or Twitter, but we'll take just about anything at this point. You guys have been sending it in every possible way. And share a book does not necessarily have to be Masonic, but something that means something to you, and explain why you've got further light from this book, and we'll take that, we'll share it with the readers, and we'll pick one lucky winner at random, as we did last year, and send them a whole bunch of good stuff.
And we will announce that on January 12th, which coincides with our 100th episode.
That's 2 weeks, folks. Hold on to your butts.
It is going to be an amazing episode. It's going to be longer than normal. It is still going to start at 10. But we are going to have a whole slew of returning guests on, as well as a couple new faces, and it's going to be very unconventional as far as TMR shows go. So I think you all will be pleasantly surprised.
You know what it will not be? It will not be a clip show. I hate when sitcoms do that. For the 100th episode, we're going to go back and play our favorite moments from the years past.
Yeah, we did not advance the plot.
Yes, it'll be all new material.
Yes. Not to be missed. You will be talking about it at Lodge the following week.
And we will actually try to make a full announcement and pull the veil back on what that show is going to be and who is going to be starring next week at our 99th show.
99. Alrighty. The other thing I had to share, I just happened to stumble upon it in my news, today, December 29th, back in 1809, a famous Mason was born by the name of Albert Pike. And for those who don't know who Albert Pike is, he did some stuff with Masonry, specifically Scottish Rite. So he's kind of deserving of having his own show, I think.
He was York Rite first.
He's like, I will create a new religion. I mean, Rite of Masonry.
Right.
He will rewrite a rite.
He will rewrite a rite. It's better than rewriting wrong. Hey, Paul.
Yes.
Jason brings up a good point in our little chat window here. Do you happen to know the details of the upcoming Burn Supper? We've been plugging it the past couple of years. When's
It
the Kite
is
and Key Burn Supper?
Kite and Key. It is Saturday. It's either the 23rd or the 26th. I don't have a calendar in front of me to tell you which day it is, but whichever one of those days is a Saturday, that's when it is. I know it is at the Meadows in Hellertown, Pennsylvania.
23rd.
The 23rd. Thank you. The haggis will return to being homemade, I've been assured, which is always excellent. Brother Aaron R. White, past master, does a great job with that. And for more information, I strongly suggest you search them out on Facebook. They are the Kite and Key Lodge number 813, F and AM. If you just put that in your search in Facebook, I'm sure you will find them.
We'll put a link on our show notes as well.
Thank you.
If you go to theMasonicRoundtable.com for this episode 98, you'll see that right below the video.
Yeah, I have a strong suspicion that Worshipful Paul, Past Master, John, and myself will probably be attending. Although I haven't talked to John about that yet.
Your suspicions are strong.
You're like a lady. You're just making his plans for him. That's
Yeah.
What do I have to wear?
Much to the chagrin of his wife.
You should bring your wives, because I heard girls love haggis.
Yes.
And you guys, I'm a little disappointed. I made a reference to So I Married an Axe Murderer, and it just when I said the Meadows, and you guys didn't catch it, but it's okay. I'll forgive you. Somebody out there listening will go, "Oh my God!"
What do you mean by brutal?
But you know what? We're 8 minutes in. No Nick Johnson. 0 comic book references. So keep that momentum going.
I am going to try.
Alrighty. Good stuff. Thank you, Paul, for that ad hoc update. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot.
Not a problem.
But that's it from Masonic News. It's been a very light week. Obviously, not a lot is going on in Masonry between Christmas and New Year's. So we will move into the Masonic Monday question.
On Tuesday.
Thank you, Jason. Now cue yourself up.
Alrighty. So last week's question was a picture question, and Nick showed you a picture of a badge given to members of the commandery and said that this medal, a badge given to a new Sir Knight upon his entrance into commandery, is commonly misattributed as a Grand Army of the Republic Widows badge by uninformed resellers. It is not that, but a specific style of cross used by a still existent order. Your question, to what countries do the 8 points of the cross allude? With a bonus question, although it is a required badge for all Sir Knights, it does not represent the Order of the Temple. Why? And congratulations going out to Chris Boyce, Justin Miller, Christopher Croteau, Mark Robbins, Lauren Lampy, Jared Chapman, Larry Fama, Luke Shorty, Dale Mills, Mike Hambrecht, Daniel Erickson, William Nair, Joe Schultz, Frank Scrobot, Blake Leach, and Michael Overturf. So congratulations, you get a golf clap from me. And the answer is, now remember, we're talking about the 8 countries to which the points of the cross allude. They are Auvergne, Provence, France, Aragon, Castile, and Portugal, Italy, Germany, and England, which would include Ireland and Scotland. The bonus answer is, at some point at the end of the 19th century, the orders of the American commandery system were swapped. Originally, a Sir Knight received the Order of the Temple immediately after the illustrious Order of the Red Cross, and the Sir Knight would have received the Order of Malta as a final degree. Seeing as the Order of the Temple is more impressive than the Order of Malta, supposedly, I'm not a Knight Templar.
Yeah, how was
the leadership swapped the Order of Malta and the Order of the Temple. So there you go. That's your answer to last week's question. And now, here is this week's Masonic Monday question on Tuesday. Your question is, although Freemasonry celebrates the Saints John, the Baptist and the Evangelist, as our patron saints, they are not, in fact, the patron saints of operative stonemasons. This saint, a martyr, is designated as the patron saint of stonemasons. His feast day is celebrated very near to the feast day of St. John the Evangelist. Who is this saint? Your bonus question for this week is, what special title is afforded to him? When you get the answer or think you have it, send it along with your name and lodge name to masonicmonday@gmail.com. Do not send it to the Masonic Roundtable at gmail.com. Do not post it on the Facebook page, as several people did this past week, because if you do, then Kilgrave, the Purple Man, will recapture Jessica Jones, and she will be under his mind control spell forever. Don't
Almost
ruin
made it.
Jessica.
Almost made it. Alrighty.
That's it.
Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome, John.
I say already a lot.
Filler word.
Yes, it is. The topic for tonight is Blackballed. Specifically, the process that goes into being elected to receive the degrees in Freemasonry. So tonight, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the balloting and election process, because there are some listeners who have no idea how do you get into a Masonic Lodge and what that entails. We're not going to cover the whole gambit, but we will talk about what happens when you don't make it. What happens when that lodge turns unfavorable in your favor, and so what happens then? Have we had any experience with that, and are there any jurisdictional differences that go with the balloting process? Let's begin with Jason giving us an overview of how balloting works in Virginia.
So, essentially what happens is when you petition a lodge, of course, there are several things that have to happen. First, as part of the petitioning process, you have to get 2 Masons in Virginia to vouch for you. Then you are investigated by a committee, and then the culmination of that petition process is the balloting. So it's usually the second month, because your petition has to be read and then it has to lay over so that the brethren can think about it. Balloting usually happens on that second month. And you can either, in Virginia, you can either ballot on petitions individually or lump them all together. And in Virginia, it has to be unanimous. So you have a ballot box which will contain white balls and black cubes. Now, interestingly enough, it is for some of the brethren who might not be able to see too well, so they can more easily distinguish between the yes votes and the no votes, so we don't have a bunch of brethren being like, oh, I meant to say yes. Oops.
Fun fact.
Because we know how that goes with commandery.
Right.
Or consistory, sorry, consistory.
In Virginia, cubes were added as an appropriate way to throw a negative vote in 1903. So it's been around for quite some time that black cubes instead of black balls were allowed and accepted in Virginia. But yes, that is where the term blackballed comes from. That's introduced into kind of mainstream language. It does have a negative connotation. You've been blackballed from something. It does come from Freemasonry and being rejected for membership. Robert, do you have any differences or similarities in your balloting process?
Sure. So you turn in a petition. The petition has to be signed by 3 dudes, and your petition is read. It goes to an investigation committee consisting of 3 people. Then by the next stated meeting, they have that layover time, just like you were talking about. And in that layover time, guys investigate. They do their thing. They return to the lodge for this next stated business meeting, give the results to the master, and then the master declares whether it was satisfactory or unsatisfactory. And at that point, they would call for the vote. And then the vote is very much the same. We have white balls or black cubes. 1 black cube is over. And we were talking in the green room before the show started. I was mistaken. Actually, it's a 1-year layover for us. So
1 year layover if what happens?
if you get blackballed,
Okay.
black cubed, you may petition again in 1 year.
So let's hold that thought
Interesting.
while we talk about that. So what I've heard is both in Virginia and Illinois that it is a unanimous ballot for that to join that particular lodge to become a Mason and receive the degrees in Freemasonry.
It's no joke. I mean, when we say unanimous ballot, it's not like many other elements of life today where people make small exceptions here and there. It literally is all
Black or white, right?
With
And-
one exception. With one exception.
Oh,
The master can destroy it.
Yeah,
And
there's
vote again.
some little things you can do as master with your powers to
But
override
we
ballots.
can talk about that later.
However, I think the key takeaway for Virginia, at least, as I've heard it explained to me, is the reason for a unanimous ballot is to promote peace and harmony in the lodge, right? You want everyone who's there to want everyone else there, right? That you don't want a dissenting vote because if that person gets in, you will have disharmony. You will have that person who voted against accepting that person into Masonry, into that lodge, sitting in lodge with them eventually, and there may be some things. That doesn't mean you can't join another lodge later or somewhere else in that jurisdiction, but again, we can talk about that because, Paul, does Pennsylvania operate the same way? What is the same and what is different in Pennsylvania?
Well, it starts off the same with petition, investigation committee, and just for, like I said, there's prospective Masons or men who haven't joined yet. The investigative committee, at least in Pennsylvania, the big thing they do is that at some point they like to meet with you, and preferably if you have a spouse or significant other, like to meet with them as well, just to make sure they know where your head's at,
Likewise.
and why you're interested in the fraternity. So assuming that goes well, we again have a ballot. We can do a voice vote. I don't know if you guys can do voice votes. We can do a voice vote. It's at the master's discretion. Although any brother can object to that and has to go to the ballot. So when we have the ballot, again, we have our lodge in particular just has balls, but cubes are an option in Pennsylvania. But in Pennsylvania, it takes 3 black balls to reject a candidate, not just one.
I'm sorry. Say what?
Pennsylvania ballots require 3 black balls to reject.
And how recent has that been?
6 years ago. We had a grandmaster who instituted some changes, and that was one of his changes, was the 3 black balls reject. Now, there's a caveat to that before we go down the why the 3 black balls.
Why 3 black balls?
If
It's because you don't have cubes.
Oh,
So you're just taking out the standard error of that one Mason being like, oh, thought it was white.
so what's a caveat, Paul?
if one brother truly wants his one dissenting voice to be heard, you are allowed to privately go to the district deputy grand master and voice your opinions. And if the district deputy feels that you have a Masonic reason that this man should not join your lodge, he can cut the ballot off.
Okay, point of order. Is that before, during, or after the balloting?
It would be before the ballot. You would have to go before the actual ballot. You have plenty of time. You've heard the man's name read in lodge. It's been in your trestle board. So if you know there's a reason this guy shouldn't be in lodge, you have plenty of time to make your voice heard to the district deputy.
Or, throw a black ball. Just
Or
saying.
throw a black ball. Absolutely.
So we are also highly encouraged to do the same in Virginia, where if we know of a reason why this person would not be a good candidate for Masonry, to address that way before the ballot, to include talking to the master, talking to the district deputy, grand master, whomever,
But
previous to the ballot. So
why
it doesn't get that far. Robert?
Why would you do that? The whole idea of an anonymous system in which to reject somebody is to ensure that happens.
Great question. Short answer that I've seen and heard is embarrassment. You want to prevent an embarrassing situation where someone thinks they're making it all the way and they think that everything's copacetic until
They're not in the
Masonic
lodge.
moment.
They're not there for the vote.
But you get the, come to dinner, hang out, meet the guys, and then, I'm sorry, someone that here doesn't like you. You know, we're trying to prevent that from happening.
But that's the issue is whether people want to admit it or not. We're not for everybody, and if we reject somebody, then we reject them. Move on. Don't be a baby about it.
No, everyone gets a trophy. Everyone's elected in the Masonry. No, but again, you're hearing a good point, brethren, is that the ballot is not to be taken lightly, that the black ball is there for a reason. It's just you have to be careful about when it's used and when it might be misused, which I think is what the three black ball system is trying to prevent. Anything you care to elaborate on that, Paul?
Yes. I mean, the general feeling that Grandmaster put out there was just that there were certain lodges that were, known throughout the state that just wouldn't let men in for one very particular reason or another. Some lodge might not want a black man in their lodge at all. Some lodge might not want Catholics in their lodge. Some lodges, take your pick. What one old past master or any member in a lodge doesn't want in his lodge. And the Grand Master thought that wasn't Masonic. That you can't have one man's prejudice determining the membership of your lodge.
So I have an issue with that, and not with the issue of voting against race or anything like that. It should not be allowed. We have strict moral codes, and it's actually been amended into our what we call methodical digest, our Grand Lodge rules that say no black ball shall be cast for anything other than the moral characters of that individual. So no race, religion, creed, orientation, you name it, right? So you have to be careful about, if you're trying to avoid someone casting a prejudice, then that in itself, if known, I mean, how are you going to know, right? But if known, if you know that guy voted against them because he doesn't pick your characteristic, that in itself is a Masonic offense.
Yeah, and it's the same
But
thing.
at the same time, go ahead, RJ.
I'm sorry. In Illinois, it's the same thing. If you object and it's found out, number one, if a rejection is cast, if you were the person to cast that rejection vote, you will actually be reprimanded for making it publicly known that you were the one who did it. And
Bingo.
Likewise, if you know who did it and you let it be known, you will also be reprimanded.
Masonic offense in Virginia to talk about how you or someone else balloted.
Yep. So that is a Masonic offense here in Illinois as well. In addition to, if the same thing, I have the bylaws in front of me. I was just kind of perusing them here in detail, looking like same thing, a huge offense if it is blatant that you blackballed or black cubed somebody for any reason other than their character. So.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is having the Masonic offense of not being able to talk about it. It's all plausible deniability, right?
But we're all adults, and I think we're supposed to.
That is a very big assumption. I'm just going to throw that out there right now.
That's another thing is because we're all Masons, we're supposed to have this code of honor. We're supposed to be amazing as far as our code of ethics, and we're supposed to be these great, upstanding, civil people. So it's assumed that we wouldn't do something that shallow. But unfortunately, I'll hop on the old bandwagon of because we don't or didn't watch the West Gate well enough, we have those among us.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the three black ball idea deals with like just the practical reality of the situation. And the idea, I am 100% that Masons should be men of honor. Like one of the things, if I'm talking to a prospective candidate, I'll say, you can look online, you can find the adopted secret word of a Master Mason, you can find the degree work of probably even the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, you can find it online. but I'm not going to talk to you about it. And why? Because I just gave my word I wouldn't. And if
Right.
you can't understand that, then Masonry's not for you. But at the same time, that's the one thing it offers. The three black balls just kind of is dealing with the actual practical reality of what can happen.
I have a question for you, Paul. Do you think that having 3 black balls in there would give somebody who normally kind of feels like he wants to blackball somebody but doesn't the balls to blackball somebody, and in the hopes that, look, if I'm right, 2 more people will do it? Like, do you think it makes it a little bit more? Do you think it makes it easier to toss a black ball in by having 3?
You could get some groupthink. Yeah.
Absolutely. I can't obviously talk about specific ballots
Sure.
or balloting patterns, but I will say, if I'd seen a black ball, I would have only seen that black ball since that policy was put in place.
So we're enabling dissenting votes, is what I'm hearing.
No, I think we're enabling someone who it might be more easy to vote with their conscience, because they might say, if you're on the fence.
But to what end? I mean, come on. That's then you have one black ball, and then now it's known, at least if to nobody but the master, that there's now a dissenting voice.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, you instantly have disharmony. Again, if it works, great. It just seems kind of an arbitrary thing to add. It complicates the matter. Why 3? Why not 5? Why not 10? So unanimous is
10 members that show up.
Bazinga. But again, unanimous is pretty cut and dry. So let's take this time now to move into, well, what happens if and when a black ball does get thrown, and we'll cover cross-jurisdictional at this point. Jason, tell me about Virginia. What happens if you get blackballed?
So if a black cube is thrown, that means you are out of the business for 6 months.
Oh, so it's just a 6-month hiatus, huh?
Basically, what happens is after you get a no vote from a lodge, you have to wait 6 months before you either petition that lodge or some other lodge again. Now,
okay, so it's not
the Grand
completely
Lodge keeps track of that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is beyond me.
Yeah, that's a good point of how that actually gets tracked and monitored. It is on the integrity of the lodge and the lodge secretary and the lodge master to keep that record. But at least that there is still hope that if maybe that lodge wasn't a fit for you in Virginia, that there's another lodge you could petition in 6 months, or if whatever confusion got clarified, that you could then reapply in 6 months. So it's not one and done, right? There is a chance of renewal. How about you, Robert?
So in Illinois, after the ballot's taken and it's examined, if there was a black ball or a cube, it's not always, but if for whatever reason, like let's say the investigation committee came up and they said everything was good and there was a black cube, the master, as Jason said earlier, he can destroy the ballot and do it again just to make sure.
Right.
So if that happens, so then at that point, if there is actually a black cube and there's a rejection, it's, first of all, you guys brought up something that was interesting. You said it's up to the individual lodges to keep track of these things and to like somehow, how did you put it?
Well, it's I mean, how the Grand Lodge tracks those members who have been been blackballed is beyond me.
So this is my I've only been a Mason for like 8 years, so I don't know how every jurisdiction works, but in Illinois is all I've ever known as far as record keeping goes. Illinois, we use a computerized program that is statewide, and it's called MORI. So the second your petition comes in, it goes to the Grand Lodge. They approve it for ballot, and at that point, as a secretary, you enter it into the system, and then everything that happens to that candidate from that point on, he has events: elected, rejected, initiated, passed, raised, died. So all of that is in this record statewide, and usually district deputy grand masters have read-only access to it. The lodge secretary has access, and the Grand Lodge obviously has all access. So if somebody is blackballed here in Illinois, that's recorded, and if that happens, you do have the ability to petition again after a period of 12 months. Recommended to go back. That's not recommended. The bylaws state that he's going back to the same lodge if it's in existence, provided that such lodge may waive jurisdiction as provided in certain codes. So yeah, you have 12 months to make amends if your lodge is still there. If it's not there, you can petition another lodge, but I believe you do have to get permission from the original lodge who blackballed you before you can petition the next lodge. So there's kind of this, nope, you got to deal with your problem. You can't always be running away kind of thing going on with it. But again, I think I interpreted those codes right. I can't. Don't yell at me, Illinois Masons listening to the show. Like, he's incorrect.
According to Section 2.49.
Yeah. So that is the way I understand it. It may be different, but yeah, you get 12 months to go think about it and figure it out.
All right, Paul, how about you?
All right, so I will preface this by saying I'm not a secretary. I didn't go to any of the secretaries' seminars, and I feel like the secretary has the more detailed information on this. As far as a timeline, I've never heard of a timeline. The candidate is told if in case of a blackball, it's until the objection is satisfactorily removed. So essentially saying you got to take care of your business. Grand Lodge PA has a statewide system. When we bring the candidate up for a vote, one of the first things the secretary has to do is it's actually brought up as a communication from Grand Lodge saying there's nothing on the record against so and so. So, and I don't know if we have a system like Maury, but I mean certainly if someone is rejected, that's going in the minutes, and all our minutes go to Grand Lodge. So Grand Lodge has that information. So I would have, again, this is conjecture. I apologize. I would assume that if someone's rejected, Grand Lodge would put that would let us know that at the very minimum.
Okay. So is it done? I mean, is it after 3 black balls in Pennsylvania? Do you get 6 months? Do you get a year?
That's what I'm saying.
It is.
It is, I think, until the objection is satisfactorily removed. Like,
wow.
however you want to interpret that. Again, and I want to preface this by saying I would bet that my secretary knows a lot more about this than I do, as is the case of all masters. My secretary knows a lot more about this than I do.
But it's Pennsylvania. It doesn't surprise me. Robert?
No, I was just saying, I like that, the clearing up. If that is in fact the rule, I think that's a really interesting and a very progressive way to look at things. Going back to what we do, making good men better, or as Nick likes to say, making better men good. We would expect every once in a while somebody maybe that doesn't have like the moral pedigree to get in to maybe have to go work on some things and come back. I don't see a problem with that. I mean, we live in a world where people make mistakes every day and have to fix them. I think if that is indeed the way it is out there, I think it's pretty sweet.
Cool.
Did you just say something nice about the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania? It's a Christmas miracle.
We love PA.
This is Festivus. All we're doing here is airing grievances.
Hey, you know who I bet would have some of these answers for you guys? The the Academy of Masonic. What is it? The Academy of Masonic Research. Am I saying that right?
Masonic knowledge. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I think they're having a meeting March 19th. You guys should come.
You know what?
Maybe we'll be there.
We'll all be there.
Yeah,
So stay tuned for more details.
So here's a question though. I get where people are going with having 3 black balls, but does that take it too far in not guarding the west gate properly? Remember, Masonry isn't for everybody, and so why are we worried? Several of my traditional observance friends would say, Masonry is not supposed to be big. It was never supposed to be big. It should be small, and we should be more selective.
I would agree.
Is this going against that?
I would say yeah. I mean, it makes it more inclusive by definition. It makes it however, you could argue about the extent it does, but it certainly makes it easier for a man to gain admission into the fraternity.
Right.
And I mean, and again, this is the part we got to be clear. I am not speaking for Grand Lodge on this.
None of us are.
We had
Yeah.
the disclaimer. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know, but I just we all know something our Grand Lodge holds dear to all our hearts, and that is new members.
Mm-hmm.
And anything to get I don't want to say anything to get a new member, but the more members you bring in, the healthier your lodge is. And
Financially.
financially. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to look like, and this is a hard conversation to have, obviously, on a podcast at 10:30 at night on a Tuesday.
I love watching you twitch. It's great.
Well, look, I've been kind of put out there as the Masonic Roundtable's PA expert, so I don't want to misrepresent my Grand Lodge. I'm speaking. I'm a part of a.
What you might want to say is that Pennsylvania Grand Lodge is the richest Grand Lodge in the world because they value membership.
Group hug.
They really value.
You just cut off right now, so this looks really weird to me. Okay, they value what? Because you cut off a value.
Membership.
Value membership like a lot.
Well, I would offer. I mean, we're also the largest Grand Lodge certainly in the country. I mean, we're 10% of the. If you're a United States Mason, 1 in 10 is in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you said that last time.
It's a fact.
Just saying. No. Good. Okay, let's also talk about appendant bodies. Appendant bodies also have balloting processes, and it appears that it's easier to be looser with the ballot box in appendant bodies. And so I'm just going to go on anecdotal evidence that I do know people that have been blackballed from appendant bodies. What do you guys think of that? Especially if you know that this person is a brother master mason before they join an appendant body. Is there a good cause? Is there any good reason to deny membership into an appendant organization?
I think that everyone should, with the exception of people who are already in those appendant bodies, should blackball everybody else from joining, because
Then they'll die.
they just go away. Yeah. No. I've actually
Brother Andrew Hammer on the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, special guest.
I've never been actually at a meeting. Oh, maybe no, I take it back. I've been to one meeting where I think we read a petition for the appendant body, and we read the petition, but I've never been to an appendant body where we voted, which should tell you the state of things in my neck of the woods as far as the things like York Rite go. I mean, Valley Chicago, for one thing. I don't know how Scottish Rite works with balloting. I think that has to go before that their meeting that they have like quarterly or whatever. But I don't even think that's probably not even that loose, right? They probably just read the names and it's automatic. If they're a member in good standing, it's okay.
Well, in some of the appendant bodies that I'm a member of in Virginia, there have been cases where they've been like, oh, okay, so we're doing a degree next Monday, so just get your petition in Monday night, and we'll go through it real quick, and then get your degree on. It's like,
I wish Masonry was that proficient.
Well, I mean-
you know, that is specifically because they're grabbing for membership, right? And it's, is there a West Gate to guard? I don't know. For
But I
anybody.
mean, also
They're
couldn't it
already
be
brothers, though.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, couldn't it be argued that technically Blue Lodge has kind of done most of the work for him already?
I
Yes.
agree. I totally agree. So blackballing an appendant body is unnecessary?
No, I disagree.
Okay.
I don't think Blue Lodges are doing their part at all as far as guarding the West Gate.
Touche. So
However, I do agree that if we were doing what we're supposed to be doing, that we would be then it would be easier to do.
guard all the gates.
Guard all the gates.
All the gates.
All the gates. What about never mind. I don't want to open that in the show.
Wow. So how do we want to wrap this up before we get to social media? You know, we've covered, let's do a recap. We've covered the balloting process in general, and for the most part, it's similar in many jurisdictions, with the obvious exception of the past 6 years in Pennsylvania, that it changes the dynamics of how membership is gained and how dissenting votes can be cast. One thing that I'll just throw out there, maybe I was going to save this for my final thought, but I think it's worth mentioning now, just for people to chew on, is think about the economics of that, or the incentive structure, right? So I study a lot of the stuff as far as behavioral economics, as well as reward systems. What gets rewarded gets done, and so if it makes it easier to get in, and you know, what are the consequences of doing that? How do people inherently game the system in a positive or negative way? And what is the long-term effect of doing so? We've only been doing it for 6 years in Pennsylvania, so we'll see what the ultimate long-term impact is. Robert?
I've got 2 questions for you, John. One, because you mentioned exactly what you just mentioned, reward systems, right? I don't know if you guys listen to NPR. There's a great dude on there who comes on. His podcast is called Hidden Brain, and he checks out all these amazing things. And anyway, they ran this study where they wanted to test people's judgments and how good they are, because they always want to believe that, like, it's the gambler's fallacy, right? Like if you flip a coin 10 times and you get 10
heads in a row.
next
The 11th one is going to be
heads. It's going to be.
Oh, wait.
It's always
not.
50%. So what they did was they took all these in a lab. They took these loan officers and they brought them in and they said, take a look at these loan papers, and then I want you to look at them and say whether you're going to approve the loan or deny the loan. And they did that, and what they found out was when they promised a bonus, and then they compared them to actually what really happened with those loans, because they were really linked to certain things, like whether it was a bad loan or a good loan. At the end, when they actually said that they would pay these people based on what they got right, they made way better decisions, and they actually picked the ones to loan to who actually were good people that paid their loans on time and early, instead of just making these blind choices to, you know, give people money, or you know, and turns out that maybe they weren't going to pay their loan. So if we can apply that to Masonry, would there be an incentive to the investigation committee? Hey guys, if in a year this guy is really active and really comes and he goes through his degrees, and if he returns his catechisms within, I know you guys don't do that, if he returns his catechisms within 6 months and he becomes active, y'all get something like an award or something.
You know, I'll do you one better, and I've thought about this, right? If we're talking about membership and we're talking about active membership in Masonry, it goes back to who are your first-line signers, right? We in Virginia don't have any tracking system nor reward structure for bringing in the most guys, and then specifically, are they the most active? So wouldn't that be cool if there was a, you know, I don't know, mentorship award where if you bring in the most Masons and they remain active in their lodge, meaning active defined as go to 80% of meetings or more in their first year, then you get a cash bonus for growing Masonry. That would be an awesome experiment. Grand Lodge, Virginia?
Can I interject? So Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania has a system that's about 80% of what you're talking about. We have rewards for first line signers. Your first petition, you get the Grandmaster's necktie. I have a lovely collection myself. This Grandmaster's changed the system a little bit. I haven't read it yet because he just put out all the information. Obviously came out on St. John's Day. But there's apparently lots of nice rewards for being a first line signer. And then on the reward part, we have two programs that go concurrent. The Master Builders Award and they're going to kill me because I don't know the one for the lodge. But I think it's the Grand Master's Award. Master Builder Award is for any first-year Mason. You essentially have a checklist of things to do, like go to 80% of your lodge meetings, participate in a degree, visit other lodges, call your NPDs.
That sounds like the Hillman Award.
And you make enough points in a year, you get it. And there's a similar checklist award for the lodges, as far as retention, that gets tied into retention and visiting and things like that.
Now we know why you guys have 1/10 of the Masons in the United States.
There's something to be said about that. That's amazing. Grand Lodges should be listening. This is that again. If the United States of America is a grand experiment where you can have sovereign entities that are united, and you can try different things with different laws, why can't you do the same thing for Masonry? And say, let me see what's working well in this other grand jurisdiction, and then copy that. Okay, I digress. Jason, what are they saying on social media? Unmute your mic first, too. That would be great.
That's what I get for looking at the social media conversations. We've got a lot of great stuff on social media tonight, and I'm going to talk about as much of it as possible. First and foremost, we have the obligatory Masonic meme from Andy Griffith, Blackballed. Stuff just got real, since we are a family-friendly show.
It got real.
Yeah, it got, majorly real. So, that's good. Let me go and give a rundown of different jurisdictions who have been talking to us, or different jurisdictions that have been mentioned on social media tonight. So let's see. First, we have. So in Ohio, there are white balls and black cubes. One black cube and you're cut, and you can try again in 1 year. Texas is really interesting, though. Texas is a bit more regimented. 3 black balls rejects for 1 year, 4 black balls for 2 years, and 5 or more black balls rejects for 3 years. The Lodge Secretary makes a record of the vote and reports it to Grand Lodge. Also, the Grand Lodge of Missouri has a 2 black ball rule. 2 black balls and you're out. So it's really interesting to see how it differs from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Also,
that goes to my point earlier. Why 2? Why 3 in Pennsylvania? These just seem to be arbitrary numbers. However, I encourage people to experiment, right? Will they find that 2 is the right number based on metrics, or will they find that 3 in Pennsylvania is the optimal number? Don't know.
So one thing we didn't really touch on was reballoting. This comes from Brother Adam Thayer, who says, okay, just curious as to how many states actually reballot and what are the limits. Nebraska will allow up to 3 ballots on one petitioner at the Worshipful Master's discretion before the petitioner is officially blackballed. In Texas, a lodge could technically reballot over and over and over again until the Worshipful Master is satisfied or the clock hits 11:59 p.m.
Yeah. When we were a 1 black ball jurisdiction, as masters, you were taught how to there was ritual and dialogue for you always had a second ballot if you got a black ball. The Grand Lodge would want you to have a second ballot just to be sure.
I think I would. I mean, that's how Illinois does it as well. I mean, we would always. It's not mandated, but we do it because human error exists.
Exactly.
I mean, and if it comes up clear the next time around, I mean, then we just know. I mean, if we hadn't, we would have just made a big mistake.
Exactly.
But are you referring to like after 12 years when he comes back to reballot? Is that what you're referring to?
No, in the same meeting.
Oh, okay.
Basically, the ballot's declared like not clear, and the master's like, "We're doing this again."
Yeah. Well, so I was a case in Michigan. I went there a long time ago, and a brother was telling me a story, not from his lodge in Flint, it was from another lodge he had visited. So a couple lodges removed. The gentleman was blackballed because he was African American, and the Grand Master came down and basically cleared the ballot and demanded everybody vote again and declared it clear, even though it wasn't. That's the story, right? I don't know if it's true.
And you know, even if it's urban legend, that is, depending on the jurisdiction, the powers into the worshipful master seat.
Yeah, the Grand Master in this case, I do believe.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to ask you a question really quickly, John. Being a exalted high, you're EHP this year, right?
Yes.
So,
or that was not high priest. Excellent.
Okay,
You're king.
Okay. So
Next year.
for the Royal Arch, have you ever heard of somebody getting blackballed because even though it's not Christian, there is that push in the York Rite side? Have you ever heard of anybody getting blackballed or anything like that? And, anywhere?
I will say Northern Virginia is very progressive in the sense that, one, we want to grow membership, and two, we really don't have. I'm not saying there aren't any biases, because I've heard stories, but I fortunately have not been witness to any of those. And for example, I know personally many Jewish Knight Templars. I mean, not just one or two, like a whole handful, right? So,
We know a couple Muslim Knight Templars as well.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
Knights Templar.
So fortunately, we don't have that issue to worry about. We are inclusive by default. We still go through the process of balloting, so at that point it becomes a superfluity, but it's one of those things, I guess. Hey,
Sorry.
Jason, before you move on, I did want to share one thing that Brother Josh Ney from Pennsylvania wanted to also highlight that in this quarter's Pennsylvania magazine, they have pamasons.org. They talk about the membership incentive program. So this is what Paul was alluding to, where you could get a tie. Basically, you can get credited with 60 points.
There we go.
And then later on, accumulate points, and these gifts could be yours. So we have luggage, we have watch. I'll take the wand and Fitbits. So there's some good gifts.
What Mason in Pennsylvania would be wearing those earrings or that handbag?
That handbag there, yeah.
Yes.
A gift for your lady.
Alrighty. So Paul was not lying. Good job, Paul.
That's awesome. I like that when I do a good job at work.
So Matt Botts chimed in. He's a good friend and brother of ours who is Prince Hall past master, who will be on episode 100. Spoilers. He mentioned that he has witnessed blackballing at the Grand Lodge level out west, and he's also been in a Virginia Grand Lodge and Virginia Prince Hall lodges where people have been blackballed. And in the Prince Hall in Virginia, under the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Virginia, you get one blackball and you're out for 6 months.
So it does happen.
It does happen. So
Every case seems to be unique.
Well, and I haven't seen it happen because the way I see it is really if you are on the fence about whether or not you're going to blackball someone, it is your duty to do your due diligence as a brother of that lodge to make sure you are completely sure one way or the other, and then to perhaps even go to that petitioner and say, you know what, this probably isn't the right thing for you. You should probably just withdraw your petition. I'm going to put that out there.
Perhaps. Brothers, really quickly, I do have to go. I have a little bit of a family emergency, nothing crazy. But thank you all, and I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Thank you, Robert.
Bye,
Thanks,
RJ.
Rob.
I think that's a good cue to start wrapping things up. Jason, is there any gotta get in here kind of social media content?
Brother Roger Haynes from Korea is actually in Seoul, and he said that the lodges in Korea are under the Grand Lodge of Scotland, and according to the Constitution, there can be 2 to 3 black balls, but the military lodges in Seoul go with 2 black balls, which is something really interesting. Outside of that, we'll just ask our brethren to go to the Facebook page and catch up because there was a lot more discussion than we actually have time for.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I want to say, thank you, brethren, for engaging in the conversation, not with us, but with each other as well. That's exactly what we hope to get out of this program.
We get to everybody we can.
Yep. So keep that conversation going, and it's okay if you aren't here live with us. Go hop in after the show, and I want to say something. Go hop in because we'll get the notifications. The other guys who are in that post will get the notification. We like hearing what you get out of Masonry, specifically regarding this topic. With that, let's start wrapping up. Paul, will you give your final thoughts?
No, just
And shameless beer plugs.
I'll do my final thought.
I was avoiding that on purpose.
No shameless beer plugs tonight. Just other than Sam Adams is a great product, guys. Just regardless of where this conversation went, I hope everyone appreciates that Masons, we take our balloting very seriously, and we take the privilege of inviting and welcoming someone into the craft very seriously. And that's why we had this discussion tonight. If it was just a rubber stamp, it wouldn't even be a topic of discussion. It would be like, that's weird, whatever. But we take it very seriously, and this should hopefully show you the lengths we go to keep it serious.
Cool. Thank you very much for joining us, Paul. As always, you're a wealth of Pennsylvania information.
I know more, I swear.
And authority. Not the authority, but an authority.
No.
He's a self-proclaimed
Not
TMR
self-proclaimed,
expert.
No.
Pennsylvania
No.
expert. I heard it.
No.
Let's go check the tape. Jason.
We love you, Paul. We're glad you're with us. So final thoughts and shameless plugs. Again, to echo what Paul said, Masons take balloting very seriously because Masons take the craft and the quality of the men in the craft very seriously. But that's not something that, as a new brother petitioning a lodge, you should necessarily stress over. Because, Masons are... You have to assume that Masonry is a place where good men go to become better, and as a part of that innate goodness of those men who are in the organization, that they'll do their due diligence and to treat you as best they can, and they might come to you if they have an issue, they might not, but remember, lodges are as varied as the men that make them up, so. Even if you have to put, yes, I petitioned a lodge, but I received a no vote, on your petition to another lodge somewhere, you can explain that. You can say, look, either I know what happened and this is what happened, or I don't know what happened and this is who I am, and hopefully I'll make a better impression on you, or something along those lines. But the door for Masonry isn't ever truly shut, I don't think, for good men who want to make themselves better. So, don't give up, and don't stress about the ballot. Remember, it's Masons are charged with making sure that they're keeping good company, and that's all they're trying to do. They want to get to know you, because when you become a Mason, you enter into a sacred band of friends and brothers who will just absolutely love and respect you and care for you like nobody else.
Thank you, Jason.
No problem.
Wrapping things up, balloting is the most important thing you can do as a Mason because you are determining the future of the craft. And this is why we have such a variety of ways to do it. Every jurisdiction takes it very seriously, tries to give it the balance of membership versus guarding the West Gate, and it's something that has to be approached with prudence, but also approached lightly in the sense of not letting our own internal passions preventing good men from joining the fraternity. If you like shows like this, we're at the end of episode 98. We hope to keep going. The only way we can keep going is if you support the show. Go to theMasonicRoundtable.com, buy a pin, help us keep our lights on, help us keep our podcast up and hosted, and really let's help promote the future of the craft. With that, that's all I've got. Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2016 with episode 99 and a great episode 100 after that. Thank you very much for watching, and keep searching for more light. Have a good night.